We're talking today about how do we help our clients find the motivation to really want to make changes in their life. So you've probably wondered before, as a health coach, why don't people actually do what they need to do to be healthier, right? This is a big question that we all have as health coaches. So, many people have all the information that they need. They know what they should be doing. So why aren't they actually doing it? So this has been a question in the wellness field for years. Wellness professionals are, pondering, questioning, contemplating this question. And what they've come up with is that what really is the bottom line is that it's not as much about the information. So the fact that someone has the information that they need to make change doesn't actually mean that they're going to make those changes. So what they found is that it's not as much about the information. What it's really all about is the motivation. So that's the bottom line. Where is the motivation coming from? So we actually know there's a lot of research out there that shows that just providing your client with educational materials, information, knowledge, that informational piece only accounts for, or sort of that model, that educational model around behavioral change only accounts for about 30% of successful outcomes. So only 30% of people, when they have the information that they need, will actually successfully make a change. What we also know from that research is that coaching, which is more of a behavioral change process that includes looking at things like motivation, actually accounts for about 95% of behavioral change. So successful outcomes are much higher when we bring in things like motivation. So that's really what we're going to talk about today. It all comes down to this motivational piece. And so of course, the question that we have as health coaches is, so great if it's all about motivation, how do I help my clients, get motivated so that they will be successful in making the healthy changes that they want to make? So what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about motivation and where that comes from. Then I'm going to share one really powerful key way that we can help our clients explore motivation and get motivated. And then I'm actually going to share some really practical tips on ways that you can coach your clients around effective motivation. So what I want to say to just get started is that we as health coaches, we really can't motivate or empower another person. We can't actually do that. But what we want to do as health coaches is help our clients find that motivation from within. That's really our main goal. It's really the coach approach, right? We help our clients find the answers from within. So we're also going to help them find that motivation from within. And so there's lots of research and theories about motivation, different types out there in the world. So you can do some research on this if you like. But for our purposes today, I want to talk a little bit about fear-based motivation and then developmental-based or love-based motivation. So we have kind of those two types really that we're working with. As well, we also look at internal versus external motivation. So intrinsic versus extrinsic. So fear-based motivation, that all comes from a lack or maybe a deficiency that your client might feel about themselves or see within themselves. It also could be, a threat of an illness, their doctor telling them, well, if you don't lose some weight and get your blood sugars down, I'm going to have to put you on medication and chances are you'll be diagnosed with diabetes, for example. So that could be a threat-based. It also could be maybe coming from a partner. So maybe the client needs to lose some weight and their partner has said, if you don't lose weight, I'm going to leave you. So that's a big threat, right? So it's that threat-based, that lack, that deficiency, that's where this type of motivation would be coming from. And while that kind of fear-based motivation can absolutely jolt, your client into action, I have to do something about this, it doesn't last long. It's scary, it's frightening, but it doesn't last long. So it can initially get your client to, initiate some sort of change process, but it's not really going to last throughout and sustain those behavioral changes that your client might want to make. So it's really temporary, that type of motivation. And that kind of motivation, that fear-based motivation, can come from within your client, so internally. So they might have those worries within themselves. Oh my gosh, if I don't make change, this is just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. So they might, be developing that fear, that worry within themselves. Or that fear-based motivation can also come from external sources, as I was just saying, like from a doctor, from a partner, from a friend, from a parent, somebody who's worried about somebody else saying, oh my gosh, you better do this or else. There's that consequence that's going to happen if we don't make that change. So that's fear-based motivation that is temporary. It doesn't really last long term, doesn't really help to sustain those changes, but can initiate your client to start the change. On the other hand, we have development or love-based motivation, which, sounds much more inspiring, doesn't it? So it's all about fulfilling needs, achieving your goals, fulfilling your purpose and meaning in life. It's all about achieving your potential. And it really does come from that place of love, joy, pleasure, a sense of accomplishment that your client might have. So this is that internal type of motivation. And this is really the long-lasting stuff that we want our clients to tap into. It can really help to build those long-term sustainable changes, because if your client's working towards something that they really want to do, that they know is going to bring positive benefits, positive rewards to their life, then they're much more apt to want to work towards it. So I have a great little metaphor here that came from one of my mentors, Dr. Michael Arlowski, and he described the fear-based motivation, that, some of that external motivation, as like eating carbohydrates. We all know what that's like. We get that quick hit, we get that quick jolt of energy, we get that sugar rush, and then we crash really quickly, right? The fuel burns out, it doesn't last. And so I kind of added to his metaphor and I said, so when we have that intrinsic, the development love-based motivation, that's like we just added protein and fat to those carbohydrates, right? To give us that perfect balance of fuel that's going to fuel and serve us long term. It's going to keep us going. So we can think about those two types of motivation. Fear-based is the carbs, initially gets you going, doesn't last very long, or we can have that development, love-based motivation that is like, the fat, fiber, and protein, that perfect balance of fuel that we can have that's really going to keep us going, full steam ahead, nice and steady through the long haul. So it's a nice way to look at it. Another way we can think about, these two sources of motivation and, having our clients move toward their goals is that it's so much more, instead of your client sort of running away from fear of death or an illness or a loss of some sort, so they're being pushed away from that. It's so much more empowering and motivating to have them being pulled towards something that they love, that they're passionate about, that they're interested in doing. So that's another just way to look at it, that, this goes to that push and pull forces within the coaching process. It's so much better to have your client being pulled towards something that is going to bring benefits, pleasure, joy, to their life, versus being pushed away from something that is bad or that they're fearing or that they're scared of. So just a couple of different ways that you can look at those types of motivation. So bottom line here, fear can initiate some of this change, but it does a really poor job of sustaining it long term. So really what we want to do is we want to add in that love, that passion, that pleasure, that joy, that sense of accomplishment, fulfillment, meaning and purpose. That's sort of all the fat and the protein that we're going to add to those carbohydrates to keep us going, to keep that motivation going long term. So of course, the question then becomes, so as health coaches, how do we help our clients tap into that love base, that development, internal source of motivation and inspiration. So one of the best ways that I've found, a technique that I include in my coaching process, is to really help the client tap into the vision that they have for themselves or for their life when they're healthy and well. So tapping into that future state, that vision, that desired outcome that your client may have. And what I see happening a lot of times as I watch new coaches practice coaching and do their coaching demos is that they miss out on this part. So what they do instead is they explore the current state, what's the problem, what's the situation, what's the challenge or obstacle that the client needs some support with. They explore that and then they jump right into action. So what they do is they miss out on looking ahead to the future, to what the vision is that the client has for their life or what their desired outcome is. And when you do this, you miss out on such rich, really key and crucial part of the behavioral change process, right? We can't miss out on, tapping into this motivation. If we don't do that, if the client does not tap into that motivation and have that as fuel to really fuel their behavioral change journey, their coaching journey with you, if they don't have that, chances are they're going to stay stuck, they're going to be frustrated, they're going to stay back in that current state, frustrated and dealing with some particular type of challenge. So really important for us to explore this motivation, to explore that future state. So in my coaching practice, I always spend, a big chunk of time, whether that's in our coaching session together or I give this as an exercise as homework. We really want to explore with our client that future state. So I usually do this in really session 2 or 3, sort of in that foundational piece where I'm setting the foundation with the client. We're really establishing that solid foundation that we're going to work from, and it's to have this vision. So some of the things that I like to do, I actually have a worksheet that I might give the client to take home and think about, and then we come to the session and we work through it, because I think it is important for some clients to think about this, to really tap into their inner desires and what they see before we actually come together to really explore this vision. So this is really the big picture stuff, and so I would ask the client things like, imagine your life at its most healthy and well state. You're happy, you're thriving, you've got meaning and purpose. You have all the people around you that are important to you. You're making connections. You have a sense of belonging. You have a sense of well-being about you. So just imagine that state, and really just get the client to go there, to almost do a little visualization about what this could look like for them. So this is really the ultimate destination on their health and wellness journey. Where do they see themselves? This could be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, when you're 90 years old. What is that vision you have of you being healthy and well and lived a life that you were thriving in? So what I get my clients to do is they write this down, or I take notes for them as they go through it. They might want to create a vision statement out of some of the words that came up, the phrases. They might even create a vision board, which is a great way to have a visual representation of their vision of their life at this healthy and well state. So I'm just looking at my notes here. So this vision statement, this vision board, this piece, they're really going to hold it in their hearts and their minds, and it's going to really have them tap into their big why. Why do I want to make these health and wellness changes? Why is this so important to me? This is the big why of why do I want to make these changes? And it's all about, why am I going to do all this hard work? So what this vision can really do is pull your client through on those days when they don't feel like eating their kale salad or going to the gym or meditating or doing yoga or getting to bed early. There are going to be those rough days during your work together. So on those days, that's when they tap into this vision to be re-inspired, to be re-motivated. Right, that's why I'm doing this, because I have that vision. That's what I'm striving for. That's what I know is possible if I make these changes along the way. So that's where this vision can really help your client to find that motivation. So Stephen Covey once said, begin with the end in mind. And this is so important in the coaching process. It's really interwoven into our coaching process. If the client doesn't know where they are going or what they want to achieve or what that desired outcome is, or what that vision looks like for their future state, how are we going to help them build a roadmap and action steps and goals to get there if they don't know where they're going? So important to spend time working on this vision piece. Begin with the end in mind. It's the big picture piece, right? And so that's the first step. Do the big picture piece, spend time working on this vision. And then I really think it's also important that we bring this vision, the future state, the desired outcome, into every one of our coaching sessions with our clients. So we have the macro level, that big overarching vision that the client has for their life. And then we also want to talk about this piece in every one of our coaching sessions. So there's 3 key places that I think are really important to tap into the future state, into their vision, and their desired outcome. The first place in your coaching session would be when you're setting the agenda with the client. So at the very beginning, you're going to check in, what is it that you want to work on today? What's the desired outcome of the session here today? What do you want to walk away from? So you're asking the client to look ahead to, the next hour. What do you want to walk away from here today? So you're looking at a future state, a desired outcome for the actual session here today. So that's the first place within a coaching session where we can tap into that future state and that desired outcome when we're actually setting the agenda. What do you want to accomplish? What does the end of the session look like for you? What do you want to walk away from? So that's an important part. Then once we've identified the topic and what the client wants to work through, we get into the coaching process portion of our coaching session. And that's when we're tapping into, so tell me, what's the current state? Where are you? What's the challenge? What's the current situation that you're experiencing around this topic? So explore all of that. And then, of course, we look ahead to the future. So, tell me what your future goal looks like. Maybe that's in 2 weeks. Maybe it's in a month, 3 months, 6 months down the road. The time frame doesn't really matter, and that's really going to be more determined by whatever it is that the client wants to work on. But absolutely, getting into what do you want to accomplish? What would that look like once you accomplish this? What does it feel like? What are the benefits that you're going to experience if you are able to work through this? So current state and future state within that middle portion of your coaching call is really, really important for you to work through with your client. So that's the coaching portion. And then at the end of the coaching session, when you're helping the client come up with their action plan, they may say, well, I'm going to do yoga 3 times this week. Great. So tell me a little bit about what that's going to feel like. So imagine that you've done yoga 3 times. What does that bring to your life? How does it feel? What are the benefits? What are you noticing throughout your day as a result of doing the yoga? So again, we're tapping into, here's an action step, here's what I'm going to do. Okay, what is that going to bring? So we're looking ahead again into that future state. So those are 3 areas within an actual coaching session where you're also going to want to tap into the vision, to your client's outcome, desired outcome of where they want to be in the future. So just different, it's kind of on the micro level, right? We have the big macro level with the overarching vision, and then we come into the coaching session and we have those different micro kind of vision points that we're helping the client tap into. So I think, I'm just checking my notes to see if I missed anything here. Right, when the client's setting the agenda, I knew there's one little point that I missed there. When they're setting the agenda for the call today, you know, what do they want to work on? What's the topic? One thing you can do to ask them is, you know, how important is this to you? Or how does it tap into your overarching vision? You know, how does it connect back to that big picture vision that you have for your life? So that's just another point that I wanted to make to really tap into during the actual coaching session. You can bring in and tap into that bigger picture vision that they have. So let's do a quick little recap of what I shared today. So absolutely, it's best if you can help your client tap into the motivation that's focused on the future and that comes from within. It's something that the client's going to want to be excited to work around. It's going to bring them love, joy, satisfaction, a sense of meaning and purpose and accomplishment. And it's all going to be tapped into that pleasure and the benefits that they're going to receive versus motivation that's just going to scare them or jolt them into initial action. That's not going to last long term. So how do we help our client tap into that? Number one, we help them come up with that overarching vision of what it looks like, their life at their most healthy and well state, and having that vision, you know, somewhere visual. Maybe it's just even on a sticky note on their computer or on their bathroom mirror. Maybe they have a beautiful vision board, but whatever's going to work for your client so that they're reminded of that vision and the big why. Why am I doing this hard work? And what's going to be the benefit at the end for me? So then we bring that visioning, that future statement work, the future vision work, the desired outcome into the coaching session. So we tap into it when we're helping the client come up with the agenda or when they're setting the agenda. You know, what is this? How important is this to you? How does it tap into your bigger vision? What is it going to bring to your life if you're able to achieve this today? Then we get into it during the actual coaching process. We do current state and future state there. And then at the end, when we're helping the client come up with their action plan, we really, really want them to look at what are the benefits of doing these actions, because that's going to give them the motivation to work towards it. So I really hope this has been helpful for you today. I hope you feel a little bit more equipped to help your client find that motivation to actually do the things that they want to do. So moving beyond just providing them information, but helping them tap into their source of inspiration and motivation so that you can really help them tap into that effective source of motivation. So if you enjoyed this, before I get into that, just if you have any questions about this today, anything that I missed or anything that you're wondering about, please post those in the comments below and I'd be happy to answer those for you. And if you enjoyed this and if you'd like more and if you're not yet part of my Facebook community, I would love to have you join us. You can find us under Coaching Skills for Health Coaches, hosted by me, Michelle McLean, and I would love to have you join us there. So thanks so much for tuning in today. Any questions, post them below and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now, everyone.